going on YouTube? It's Colleen. Welcome back to System Triple O and Friend. I am Friend, and today I'm going to be discussing what it has been like being a student with mental health issues, specifically generalized anxiety disorder, as well as give you some advice on how to get through school as a student with a mental illness. So, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder when I was in, I think, about second grade. So it was 2 years following the traumatic event that I mentioned in my introduction video. And I think I've been seeing a therapist since I was in first grade, and I've been taking medication for anxiety since I was in fourth grade. So before I was taking medication, my anxiety would present itself in things like behavioral outbursts and feelings of being physically sick. I remember there were times when I wouldn't go to school because I felt like my stomach hurt and I didn't feel well and things like that. But when my mom would let me stay home, I would start to feel better. I distinctly remember one time I made it into the classroom, but I wasn't there for maybe 15 minutes. And I called my mom on the class phone to come and pick me up. So that was all in fourth grade when it started getting really bad. And it was after a few days of that when my mom was like, okay, this is enough. We need to figure out what's going on. And so she took me into the school counselor's office and we all sat and chatted. Well, I don't exactly remember what my mom and the counselor chatted about because I was a little enthralled with the counselor's pet chinchilla. So a short time after that, I started taking medication, and I'm still on that medication today. I have tried going off of it a few times, working with my doctor and my counselor and kind of seeing if I'm able to go off of it. Would go off of it, the anxiety would get to the point where I would look at the dishes in the sink that I had to do and I would feel overwhelmed and I would start to feel like I couldn't breathe and things like that. Nowadays, my anxiety presents itself visually, so in ways that people outside can see, through things like fidgeting. I talk fast. When I get anxious, I talk really fast and I ramble a lot. And I'll discuss this in a future video also. I'll knock, or recently it's been hitting my arm, or I'll do verbal or audible ways also, so like that. But I'll talk about that stuff in a later video. But on the inside, my anxiety is a lot different. And the way that I like to explain how it feels to people who maybe don't have it or may not understand, maybe experience anxiety in a different way than I do, is to imagine that you're back in school, elementary or middle school, right? And we all leaned back in our chairs. We thought we were so cool, to lean back in our chair. Sometimes we would go a little too far back and we would almost start falling, but we would almost always catch ourselves. But even so, you would feel this drop in your stomach and a rush of adrenaline. And I feel like that almost all the time. Sometimes it's less noticeable because I've grown used to it, but there are some days where it's very noticeable to me, and it feels when my adrenaline spikes for some reason, I can taste metal in my mouth. It's I don't know what it is, if it's something that's just odd, but so the way I describe it is it feels like I have coins in my mouth. When I was a junior in high school, maybe second semester-ish, my anxiety began to negatively impact my academic performance. So I would be too anxious. I would be anxious going into a test, and so I wouldn't do as well on the test because I couldn't focus on the test, and there were people around me, and so I felt all of this pressure, and if I finished too quickly, then people were going to look at me when I got up, and I'm going to feel like I failed because I didn't take that long, and if I was one of the last people done with the test, I felt like I wasn't adequate enough because I didn't do it as fast as everybody else did. It's this whole, like, it's not rational, it's weird, whatever. So, I uh, had previously been, going to see my counselor whenever I couldn't be in class for whatever reason because my anxiety was high or something was going on, things like that. So I talked to my counselor about setting up accommodations, certain things that would help me to better perform um, academically, to level the playing field, if you will. So I got time and a half on tests, which I didn't use all that often, but it was a nice thing to have in case I ever needed it. And then I was able to take tests and exams, like finals, in a reduced distraction environment. So basically, that means like either the teacher has the test sent up to the testing center beforehand, or you go and check in with the teacher and they give it to you and you take it up. Um, and you are either by yourself, if there's not a lot of tests going on that day or that period, or with maybe max 4 other people in the room taking tests for different classes. So that was always really nice to do. Um, and then I also managed to set up accommodations through the Disability Resource Center at my college. So I will receive time and a half and reduced distraction testing. So making it as a student with mental illness can be really tough, but there are like some things you can do in order to level the playing field, um, make it a bit easier for you to um, be quote unquote high functioning. I have problems with that terminology, but you know what I mean. So the first thing is to utilize the resources that your school has set up for you. So if you're in middle school or high school, there are counselors in your building who are there for more than just issues with your schedule. Like, go talk to them. Like, it can be nerve-wracking, I know, but they are there to help. And sometimes they'll call you out on your bullshit, like my counselor did. Like, I would tell him something and he'd be like, that's utter crap, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. And it would help, And it's also just nice to talk to someone who is impartial, well, mostly, and um, can give you an outsider's perspective. And then also, I think something that a lot of people, especially teenagers, worry about is, what they say getting around to other people. So, like, if I am mad at my parents for whatever reason, right, and I go in and I'm ranting to my counselor about these things and how it's making me feel and things like that, he cannot, by law, he cannot say anything to anybody else about what I say to him unless it involves myself being in danger or someone else being in danger, specifically minors. So, because counselors are what are called mandative reporters. Um, so, if a minor comes to them and tells them anything that uh, causes a concern for their safety or the safety of others, they are required by law to report it to CPS, I believe. So if you are in college, talk to disability resources. As far as I know, there are counselors available on campus as well, at least at most places there should be. And if they are unable to give you the support you need, they should be able to refer you to an off campus site. My second piece of advice is to find out about the accommodations that your school offers. So you should be able to get a 504 plan if you communicate with your counselor and your healthcare provider. Um, so, what a 504 plan is that under the ADA, public and private schools alike are required to provide reasonable accommodations to a student who needs it. And so that can include things like what I receive, or if you need, I don't know, a screen reader because you have little to no visibility, or you need an interpreter or a note taker or anything like that. Um, so a very important step in all of this, in getting a diagnosis, getting treatment, getting resources and accommodations that you might need in school, is self-advocacy. And for me, that's something that's very difficult to do, but it's an obstacle that you have to overcome in order to get what you need. So um, bring up the subject to your school counselor or to a teacher that you trust. Like, your teachers and your counselors can help you get the support you need in order to do well. My fourth tip is to organize. Oh my god, I am terrible at this one. This is kind of like a practice what you preach moment, but it is so, so important that you try to keep yourself organized. Write down literally everything if that's something that helps you. Like, my executive function is literally non existent, so it's taken a really long time to find something that works for me. I personally enjoy using a bullet journal. This is what my bullet journal looks like. I have things like a calendar in it, my schedule for my first term of college. Um, I have trackers of different things, so medication, things like that, and then just little things that can help me, a productivity thing, what I want to do that month, different things like that. And it's really helpful because it's all in one place. You can decorate it as you like. Um, I'll hopefully make a journal kind of talking about this, about using organization as someone who has trouble with it. As someone with GAD, it can be really difficult to keep myself organized because I forget things very easily. Um, and so bullet journal is a great way for me to stay organized. But it doesn't work for everyone. Find what helps you. My fifth tip is to not spread yourself too thin. I know that especially in high school, everyone is telling you to get as involved as you can because that's what colleges want. They don't want someone who just has a 4.0 or 4.1, whatever GPA, who didn't do anything else in high school, right? But you have to know yourself. Don't try to be on the varsity soccer team while also being on student council, while taking 4 or 5 AP or IB classes, being in multiple different clubs, and going out for the fall play all at the same time. You have to make sure that you are putting yourself first. So, my sixth and final point is that self care is extremely important, and I'm bad at this sometimes, um, but you have to try your best. Try your best to shower at least every other day, brush your hair, brush your teeth, eat something. Like, even if it's just a cheese stick or a banana, you have to get something in your system in order to get your energy up. Try to put on clean clothes. And it's okay to pamper yourself sometimes. You can, if you want to take that bath bomb and you want to bathe in some pink foamy bubbles, go for it. But if self care to you is just getting through the day and ending the day with a nice cup of, I don't know, coffee, hot cocoa, tea, what have you, like, self care doesn't have a set definition, and you don't have to follow any sort of guideline in order to take care of yourself. But you have to make sure that you're putting yourself first. Thanks so much for watching this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Please go check out our Facebook group, linked below, as well as Danny's Tumblr, also down there. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.